I've sort of sensed you've shied away or maybe avoided slightly the use of the term BIM. Is there something to that?
Yes and no, I guess. So I'm a big advocate of BIM. I think there's, coming to the clients, there's a misinterpretation, I think, sometimes of what that is. Is it still valuable? Is the world changing? You know, there was obviously the BIM mandate and lots more. So I think depending on who you're speaking to, that word can be perceived in a couple of different ways. And that fear of change we talked about, some people still have that perception of BIM is Revit, BIM is 3D, BIM is this, BIM is that. There's that misinterpretation of what it is. And similar to digital twins as well, you know, I'll call that out, because coming back to this client, we're helping them, I guess, build a digital tool for operational efficiency that isn't really a digital twin in everyone else's eyes, but to them it is. So for me, what I like to do is understand what value it's going to bring to that particular use case. And if we need to use the word BIM or digital twin or efficiency, then so be it. So digital excellence is something I'm more confident with referring to, I think.
Hello and welcome. Today we have Rhys Lewis from Revizto with us. Very excited to have you on the podcast, Rhys. You're obviously a big name in our industry in the UK, so it's good to get you on the podcast.
Oh, really? What have I let myself in for? Thanks for having me here, Richard. It's a pleasure, and looking forward to having a chat today. So glad to be here.
Fantastic. We tend to start with asking our guests sort of how they've ended up where they have. You've had a very successful few years in terms of supporting organisations and adopting technology. Be good if you could give us a bit of an insight as to how you ended up as a director at Revizto.
Big question. Happy to jump in straight there. So I mean, look, it all started. I think my journey in this amazing industry that we all work in is, I think a lot of it's thanks to some of your current colleagues. So I actually worked for what was Excitech a long while ago now, after leaving university in a slightly different realm. So started to learn all about construction, CAD, BIM, as it once was called, back in Excitech, and quite quickly sort of felt the hunger to be engaged more with clients. And then sort of grew effectively through the ranks there. And then joined Arup. I spent 6 really enjoyable years at Arup, traveling the world really. And what was really fun about that role was taking brand new products to market. So massive learning curve for myself personally and professionally. Got to see the world and meet with lots of really interesting people and work on lots of interesting projects. And then got given, I guess, the opportunity to come and join what was then this rather unknown company called Revizto through my boss, our CEO Armand, contacted me. And I guess sometimes glutton for punishment, I guess, or always like an interesting challenge. And I really did see something quite exciting in Revizto that was similar in a way to what I was doing at Arup, taking a new product to market, but not any product, a product I believed in that could help solve some of my friends, I guess, in industry's challenges, and that's effectively what I'm doing now here in my current role at Revizto. I've been here almost 8 years, and it's gone like that, and it's been a bit of a journey, shall we say. But one thing I've learned over that time is there's always room for improvement. I saw a great video by Roger Federer that talked about always thinking about the next shot. All of the success, which is great, and we learn from that. But how can we improve? And that's one thing I've tried to instill in myself is not looking for perfection, but trying to be better. And I think that's helped in terms of the little bit of success that I've seen and I'm quite proud of. So, yeah.
Just out of interest, what did you study at university? The different realm?
Yeah, something completely different. It
was
drama and performing arts. So obviously being a proud Welshman, it was either rugby or performer. And it's funny actually how you do something and don't envisage using that skill set further on in life. So my drama and performing arts degree is something that I use every day. I'm constantly in front of either my team, customers, doing these types of conversations. So it does help with public speaking and being able to articulate your point as well as you can. So it's actually helped me in a completely different way. I've not yet played alongside Coldplay or anyone of that ilk, but you never know. As I said, there's always room for improvement.
It's really interesting how people end up where they end up, right? And it's not about necessarily where you start, but where you go and how you use the skills you've got. I think it's really interesting. We're constantly having conversations about how we get more people into, STEM type degrees in order to feed our industry with technologists and engineers, science and mathematicians. So it shows that we don't necessarily need to. We can just, if we can attract people from other areas of life as well, it might be something that helps bridge the gap.
Good point.
On to the technology side of things in the construction sector. I was reading a piece by McKinsey, I think it was last week, maybe the week before now, which stated that on 44% of projects delivered, the contractors make a loss. So, I thought that was quite a powerful piece of information. So they must be hopefully making some money on the other projects. But it was sort of highlighting the fact that there are 6 or 7 different areas you could focus on to try and make those projects profitable, but that technology was a massive one. Why do you think construction organisations are still slow to adopt technology in some instances?
Interesting point, and the facts, I guess, speak for themselves. And I get on that, there are some real success stories which I could shout about all day long, and that's really what we try and use to encourage those that aren't yet sort of more advanced in their digital transformation journey. For me, Richard, I guess a lot of these organisations, it's the cost of the fear of change. If we start to change what we do now, then how does that impact our order book? Do we have time to do it? How will the workforce respond to that by bringing in new people or new technology? Then I think the cultural change or the fear of change is what halts a lot of organisations in taking that leap, if you like, because it is a big change, right? I think you would admit that, and I've been through this process with lots of organisations where, I guess it's fear of change that holds some organisations back. But when they do take that leap of faith, there really is fruit to be bared at the other side, and organisations like ourselves can help them, make that a smooth transition, if you like. But to answer your question,
do you think the fear and cost of change is more of a factor than the actual cost of the technology they're adopting?
I don't think it's about the money, to be honest, because price really is only an issue in the absence of value, right? So if you can articulate that your services, your products can bring value to that organisation, then I think you're able to have an open and honest conversation with them. So that's what I really think is them seeing the value of that fruit, as I mentioned, at the end of the tunnel to delve in and really benefit from it. So if you can tell that story or articulate it through a reference where you've worked with somebody of a similar ilk, then that potential user or company will, I think, warm to the conversation a lot more.
And then on the flip side of that, where technology is being adopted and we're seeing this success, what do you think the main drivers for the adoption of it are?
I guess it's that value piece, right? So when they have a taste of how it'll benefit them, then you're onto a winner. And there's 2 sides of this, because myself and my team are involved with all sorts of types of individuals, from the CFO to the BIM manager to all sorts of different people. And everyone has a different perspective of what success looks like. So if you can either help reduce with spend in some instances, then that helps. Or if you can put more time back into somebody's day, then that helps. But that helps in 2 ways, where if you're going to make the workforce 20% more productive, fantastic. But the real value is then seen in what can they do with that time. Well, the output goes up, right? So we can deliver more work, which then makes the workforce happier, we take on more people, and the earnings per share will hopefully increase. So that it's interesting to see how that has a knock-on impact, but in completely different ways across different types of people.
If technology can be used, maybe we don't need to find these extra 20-30% of people that we seem to be short of.
Absolutely. Listen, something else back to your first question about my journey here. My biggest challenge, and I think this is probably similar for yourself and our customers, is finding the right talent to help you achieve your goals. So those people are out there, but finding them and keeping them is something that is hard to do, right? So yeah, that's an important factor. You can only do that with the right people, and if they're not available, then how can we do things more effectively, more efficiently? So these things go hand in hand.
Yep.
It's a fine juggling act.
Do you think there's a sweet spot for technology at the moment for contractors to be adopting? We've seen bits of technology adopted. Is there something at the moment that's really changing the game in terms of moving them from where they were to where they need to be, whether that's AI, whether that's robotics, whether that's something a bit more simple? Do you think, which piece do you think is going to make the biggest difference to our friends in the contracting business?
Honestly, I think it's us helping them enable their clients really to unlock the value of BIM digital. And I know this is a hot topic, what you refer to that these days, but if we can help our contractors make their customers happier, or again, back to our earlier point, see the value in what they're delivering, then I think that's a massive opportunity, not just the contractors, for everyone in construction. It's an area I'm really passionate about. And I'll share a story actually from a customer that's just down the road from me, a local authority, where they've been handed all of this really, really rich digital information, which the design team and the contractor had obviously worked so hard to put together. But then the client would get it, and it would be in a 3D model viewer and thousands of PDFs. And that works in today's world because their estates team, that's how they operate. But I challenged them a little bit to think outside the box and use that same information in a slightly different way with the help of the contractor and the sort of soft landing to, this is the information you will receive, but just think about using that in a slightly different way with the use of technology. And what value does that add to your operational team? Because we're spending 5% in design, 10% building this asset that you're telling us will last for 30, 40, 50 years. We know it will be a lot longer. What happens when we turn on that digital switch then in the operational phase? How does that impact your workforce? And we're in part of a sort of a POC right now where the client is really, really starting to switch on digitally, doing things a lot quicker, but empowering their estates team to understand what's up in a ceiling and what tools they need to bring, and if they need to bring anyone else with them. So they're low-end use cases, but so valuable. And I think if we can help to your question, our contractors help their clients see more value in what they're delivering, then that will just go full circle. And then on the next project, the client is more informed, and the whole delivery team, I think, will then benefit from a more informed client, shall we say, or owner, operator, asset owner. So
I've sort of sensed you've shied away or maybe avoided slightly the use of the term BIM. Is there something to that in your view?
Yes and no, I guess. So I'm a big advocate of BIM. I think there's, coming to the clients, there's a misinterpretation, I think, sometimes of what that is. Is it still valuable? Is the world changing? There was obviously the BIM mandate and lots more a number of years ago. So I think depending on who you're speaking to, that word can be perceived in a couple of different ways. And that fear of change we talked about, some people still have that perception of BIM is Revit, BIM is 3D, BIM is this, BIM is that. There's that misinterpretation of what it is. And similar to digital twins as well, I'll call that out, because coming back to this client, we're helping them, I guess, build a digital tool for operational efficiency that isn't really a digital twin in everyone else's eyes, but to them it is. So for me, what I like to do is understand what value it's going to bring to that particular use case. And if we need to use the word BIM or digital twin or efficiency, then so be it. So digital excellence is something I'm more confident with referring to. I think everyone's used BIM or the term BIM quite a lot. It's had its massive benefit and a massive impact. But then those on the other end of the spectrum that have been there, that have done it, are talking about, the next new acronyms. Then to them it's old news. So I'm just conscious of, who's listening at what point in time and their interpretation of quite a broad term. But to be clear, it's something I'm really passionate about, and I think it's added a lot of value to many, many projects.
I like the term digital excellence. I think I'm in the same camp with BIM. I think what it's done and what it's driven is really important, and that collection of data through the process so it can be used on an onward journey is what we're all striving for. But as you say, some of the connotations around BIM, I think, especially with clients, BIM isn't for me. It's for the architects and the contractors. I got handed this BIM thing. I couldn't use it, so I just, they took the Revit file, threw it in the cupboard or whatever they did, and never used that information. So I agree that the term, I think what it stands for is fantastic, but the term is slightly dangerous now in terms of the reputation it's got with some.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. So we need to rethink how we educate those that haven't yet sort of gone on that journey. And
my second point is around sort of maybe too much technology. There's lots and lots of technology, and you could, we walk around, me and yourself both walk around Digital Construction Week, and you could buy 150 different systems that all solve the world's problems and stick them in an organisation. How do organisations avoid taking on too much tech?
Well, it's part of our job, really, isn't it? Coming back to that point of listening to your clients' needs. And for us as a collaboration software vendor, it is a difficult conversation sometimes when you're trying to articulate the value of having a collaboration tool when that customer already has 3 or 4 collaboration tools. Why on earth do I need another one? So there's an interest in, you mentioned the McKinsey report, Harvard's Business Review put a report together that was focused on context switching. And this is something that's helped me on my Revista journey, sort of have this conversation with organizations where there is just too much tech. Their tech stack is overstacked. They're spending all of this money. And are they seeing the value from so many different applications? So context switching is really a sweet spot for us, right? So if what we empower our customers to do is do less with more effectively. So by being able to bring in, although the problem really is looking at sort of multiple tools, multiple screens, having multiple processes, which really isn't the best use of anybody's time, right? So if you are, and I've been in this place myself and still find myself there sometimes, is you've got lots of cool apps all doing cool things, but stitching them together so you have laser focus is very, very difficult to do. And it's having that conversation with the client is what we're able to do for you is allow you to focus really in one application, so you're not having to look at models on this screen, printed out drawings, maybe Excel trackers, PDF reports. And a lot of these organizations have a really sort of slick, or I've heard a few people mention to me they have a magic formula, which is great. But to a new person joining that journey, trying to figure out how the hell all of that stitches together is hard work. And they've usually got a specialist trying to do that. And because these systems or processes don't necessarily all come together too well, things get missed, right? So that context switching is something that we're passionate about, and we can help our customers step away from and really start to collaborate in a new way by having less technology and more of the right information you need in one place effectively. So that's again something else I'm quite passionate about.
From my point of view, I sort of have a sales team, a consultancy team, and then looking at the profitability of the business. And I want to do it in 2 places. I want to do it in my CRM and I want to do it in Power BI. Anytime anybody tells me I've got to go anywhere, I'll go to Workplace as well for the lighter side of things. But when I get told I have to go somewhere else, my first answer is always to kick it back and go, why isn't that outputting something to Power BI? Why isn't that integrated with CRM so I can see the information I need in a couple of places? Mm-hmm. And I think customers have maybe should be asking us the same. It's our job to stitch the solutions together so there's only a couple of front-end portals where they're accessing this data, but people should ask for more, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Precisely. And make the tools that you've got, make them sweat, there's something that we use internally, a tool called Outreach, which I'll sort of shout out, it reminds me in a number of ways of ourselves, whereby we are bringing in, as you've just rightly said, multiple different processes or applications into one space, as opposed to email, CRM, the social media channels. We're implementing various tools with our CSM team. We have support metrics. So how do you have that consolidated view in one smart place that even a dummy like myself can use? That's also important, is I need to be able to use the technology. And that's probably another stumbling block, I think, for a lot of organizations, is they bring in a new technology that only the, dare I say it, the BIM expert can use. And then that's automatically a blocker. So it needs to be engaging and user-friendly, and again, coming back to our roots back in 2018, Armin, my boss, his vision then was to bring gaming technologies to construction. I know he had quite a few funny looks back then, but those looks have changed a little bit now as Revista sort of becomes the standard in this space, by making the important information accessible to the people that need it, to empower them to make smarter decisions sooner.
And I think, coming back to that gaming point, I think a lot of people coming through who have grown up playing computer games, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, whatever it was back in the days, they learn about this very complex game by sitting there, and it's walked them through it. They don't want to sit in a training room for a day. So I think, that's probably where some of the solutions need to focus, is around how can you make it instinctive almost to access and learn.
Absolutely. Accessibility. Well, back to our stuff, really, that they're two important factors, interoperability and accessibility. You can have the best tool technology in the world, but if people can't use it, then you're off to a false start already, So it needs to be available to everybody that can have an impact, not just a small handful.
Okay. So, again, same McKinsey report I was looking through, it said some of the most adopted technology has been around compliance in the construction space. It's almost as if people have been forced to adopt a solution. Do you see the government's role in regulating technology as important, or do you think it should be up to the individual organisations to adopt and drive adoption of productivity tools rather than just these ones that the government are kind of forcing them to take on?
Interesting question. And I guess I'm a little bit on the fence there by enforcing standards and procedures. It comes back to one of your earlier question, about what's holding these organisations back, and it's seeing the value. But I know a number of our customers that have gone through various audits for ISO 9650 and many, many more that I'm not too sort of technically up to speed with. What I do know is that being able to understand what's going on when and be able to provide a clear audit trail to anybody adds value later on for whatever reason, because of course nothing ever goes wrong. There's never ever a legal dispute. Everyone's always in 1,000% agreement, but in those very, very rare circumstances that we do have an issue or a problem on site or with an asset that was handed over 10 years ago, being able to track back a record about compliance or whatever it may be. There's obviously that report that's been published as well with Grenfell. Having that information available is critical. I think that to have accountability, auditability is important for us all as we operate our businesses, because you can then demonstrate value to your clients. We know exactly what's going in and out of our organization, and this is how we do it. What would you like to see?
Yeah, so it's kind of both. Whether it's power for the clients or whether it does come by regulation, it doesn't really matter. It's all about having that accessibility.
Open and honest. Honesty is the best policy, I believe, and by being as open and as collaborative as you can, or as the contract states, then I think that does benefit both sides. We're all in business, right? So we want to win more business, and I think the only way that you can do that successfully is by being open and transparent as you possibly can be.
It's probably a larger and wider conversation to have about the current contracting system and whether they're fit for purpose and whether they should be a little bit more open and honest and friendly rather than...
Well, you said it right. Depends. Yeah, there's a number of factors that that go in there, and I again see that from multiple sides of the fence where people can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes and not appreciate what goes into delivering a certain type of product or procedure. So we do need to appreciate that as well.
Again, switching gears a little bit, from a Revisto point of view, we talked earlier about the technology stack and how do we streamline it, and we talked around your focus around the interoperability of the product. How do you see it fitting into the wider tech stack, or does it just solve everybody's problems immediately as soon as they adopt the solution?
I'm a firm believer that one tool doesn't solve all problems. And I also mentioned one of Revisto's core, two of our USPs, and this is my opinion, is we talked about usability, but the important one is interoperability. So we're an open platform. We want our customers to be able to use the tools of their choice. And for us to be able to integrate and push data from multiple data sources is critical, not only for us, more importantly for our customers. One thing I love about the presentation Armin, our CEO, gave at our global conference at RevUp, one slide which sort of just explains the whole history of Revisto was, tell us your problem and we'll develop a solution.
Very good point you make. I think if we look at any of the bigger contractors in the UK, they've got bits from everybody, right? They've got a chunk of Autodesk software in there. They've got a chunk of Revisto software in there. They've got bits from Microsoft. They've got bits from all over the place. And it's about bringing that data and sort of modeling capabilities into one user-friendly environment. I think what you're saying is exactly where we need to go and what we need to be doing.
Yeah, well, it's a customer's data, right? And I've heard myself say a few times to new potential customers that we're trying to help cross the chasm effectively and take that leap of faith into their digital transformation journey, because that will be their own interpretation, is that we will embed your workflows and your process, so we're not going to define how you work. You define how you work, and our technology will be built to support that. So, yeah, and that means plugging into different data points and spitting data back out of Revisto into, you mentioned Power BI, so do as you wish. Coming back to my term, that digital excellence, we want you to be able to operate as effectively and as efficiently as you can, ultimately to build the best product for your customer.
And do you think that's a big part of the future, is bringing data together simply rather than the AI, the robots for this world? Is it really just about making data more accessible? Or do you think some of those more futuristic elements have got a part to play? I mean, having said that, I just saw a rocket land back to Earth on Sunday, so I'm pretty sure that we're making advancements. The whole Tesla, the whole SpaceX piece from Elon Musk and the rocket landing back to Earth. I think we are making some progress, but
yeah, that's awesome. We are, aren't we? I think, and it's you've got to have a little bit of future gazing in there as well. And we're in the process of looking at Revisto. What does Revisto look like 3 years down the pipe, so to speak? And again, that's something we're asking our customers help for, is where do you see the technology in the future? You're the construction, the engineering, the owner, experts, guide us where we need to take the technology, which isn't a crazy business case, right? Because what then happens is the software gets adopted more because you're solving a real problem. But I do think data will continue to play a big part. I think it will continue to play an even bigger part with AI seeming to become the normal. I've just bought a book, actually, all focused around AI in the construction space and how it can help you in our space. So it's leveraging data, the power of data, in a much smarter way, and use that not to. Again, this is something I've seen multiple debates about whether we're all going to be out of employment in 12 years and the robots are going to come and AI and do everything for us. That's not going to happen. I think what will happen is we'll all become much more productive being assisted with some of these AI tools because we put the data in, right? I think that's a key thing. All of this is built on data that we've created. So if you can do that smarter, better, quicker, faster, then more rockets will be going up and landing, and hopefully some prettier and even bigger buildings and infrastructure projects that make something I'm passionate about is, the built environment that we all live in and enjoy every single day. So if that can help shape a better future for my customers, but more importantly, selfishly, me and my family, then I think that's
Massively
important for everybody.
And hopefully making some money while they do it, rather than
Oh, there, I've got it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pay for the mortgage as well, right? So
yeah.
but we all do. So
Okay, cool. I think just in terms of future gazing, what's next for you, Reese? Any short-term, medium-term plans?
Wouldn't mind jumping into one of those rockets
Yeah.
with Elon Musk. That sounds fun. What's continuing to on a professional level? The team is growing, so staying laser focused on our vision to help our customers solve their challenges and continue to make an amazing product. So growing the team again. That's something that we're actively doing, and it's always challenging finding top talent. But that's definitely something that I'm focused on. On a personal level, I guess, is being a better dad, playing more bad golf, and hopefully spending more time with you, Richard, and the team. So lots to keep on with. What about yourself? Any personal goals or professional?
Nothing that
goals
springs to mind. I've just gone through the process of having a small child. It's still around. He's made it to 3, and hopefully stealing a little bit more time back for myself to work off the dad bod I've been developing over the last few years. So mine's all about finding a little bit more time to do some exercise. Really, that's the short term goal.
My one's 5, and I 5 years trying to get rid of the dad bod, but I'm proud of it now. That's a good point, actually. I think something to, just as a closing statement from me, is I've worked remotely for a long while back from when I was with Excitec, but it's important to switch off as well. I think we're all so busy. Sometimes you do need to take a step back, refresh, recharge, and then you come back re-energized, I think so.
Thanks very much, Reese. Thanks for joining us today. And I think we will close things off there.